Let's jump into this next session with Vladimir Ryabinin, who I'm absolutely delighted to welcome back to the World Ocean Summit, somebody that's been with us many, many times. Vladimir is the Executive Secretary of the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission, a UNESCO body and commission based in Paris. And full disclosure here, Vladimir is also part of our advisory board for The Invisible Wave, a report that we released recently on marine chemical pollution, to which we found, unlike Alex, your comment, which we found very little data available in order to be able to sort of think about what this really serious problem, marine data pollution, is. Vladimir, welcome. It's lovely to see you again in person, because we haven't been able to do that for some time. You and your organization has just released the State of the Ocean report, STOR. I think let's start just by understanding what the key messages of that were before we start to move into the data question. And I might say that this is titled Hot, Sour, Breathless and Dirty Ocean, but it really is about data and the data to sort of show that. And I think that phrase, if I may say, comes from Steve Widdicombe, professor at the Plymouth Marine Laboratory over there, but a perfect one, I think, Steve. But Vladimir.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me. And indeed, I would like to thank the Plymouth Marine Laboratory for their briefing. And in that briefing, they called it hot, sour, and breathless. We added the word dirty. It could be also said poisoned ocean. For me, it would be resonating. That was my mistake, sorry. So, now about the State of the Ocean report. The vision of that report was a little bit different, because I come also from the world of meteorology. And in that world, it was possible to develop data processing schemes that would be describing the state of the atmosphere in the past, in the current situation, and also in the future, on the basis of data assembly, data analysis, reanalysis, and data simulation. I thought of something like this, but it turned different, because unfortunately, oceanography is unable to come up with systematic analysis of data because of the paucity of data, because also of much more complicated area in which we work. This is not only about physics, but it's also about biology, ecology, and sometimes also management, also economy. And I have to say that in the result, this document that is supposed to inform the world about the state of the ocean with much higher frequency than the World Ocean Assessment of United Nations became a series of articles. When we were working on the executive summary of that report, it became clearer that articles are totally different, and people are unable to come up with quantitative description of the state of the ocean. And because of that, that is the main idea, the main conclusion. We know what is happening because we are sometimes good scientists. We have laws of Mother Nature that help us to understand what is happening, but quantitative description of the state of the ocean is not at the level that is enabling solutions.
That's a really interesting observation. It's something that we certainly found when we did our own research into one particular area, marine chemical pollution. But and in a way, the UN Decade of Ocean Science, which is something that sits under your watch at the IOC, has been set up really to try to address that problem. How successfully do you think it is progressing so far, and what do you expect to be the kind of the end result of it? Are you happy with the progress?
So, Charles, why we have the decade? Because in the meteorological world, again, the same analogy, there is a convention on World Meteorological Organization. In oceanography, we don't have that convention. And because of that, it becomes kind of simply a matter of goodwill of countries to conduct scientific research. So we needed to give it at least some energy and motivation. That is the idea behind the decade. And for us, it is really a great success, because the decade turned into the largest ever undertaking in the history of ocean science. We have 45 programs, more than 200 different activities, projects in the decade. A dozen of United Nations organizations are working in this. Already more than $1 billion have been raised for that work. So that is, I think, a success. But at the same time, the momentum needs to be still going forward. I think the decade has changed also the atmosphere in the oceanographic community, because we have now focusing on co-design of the science that is needed for sustainable development. So the science is becoming mainstreamed, is becoming focused on the issues of society. So that is, I think, the good thing. But, we always worried that, the energy will basically fade. But I don't see the signs. We are only going up, and I think we are now starting to come up with good solutions in many areas.
I mean, that said, I know that you think that there are a number of key impediments to building a more urgent global scientific consensus around the ocean. What is sort of preventing that growing consensus? Is it the fragmentation of science? Is it the inertia in the system? What is actually preventing a more urgent consensus building?
This is not $1 million question. This is a $1 zillion question. And I have to say that according to me, and from the previous session, I just picked up the wonderful phrase, because my job is indeed to pull jelly uphill. So, and the thing is that it is that jelly that we need to shape. And it has some inertia indeed in the system, and also in the United Nations, also in the nations. This country, Portugal, has a Ministry of the Sea. That is a huge step forward. Not many countries have that. So we are moving forward in a quite inertial domain in which the role of the ocean is not fully recognized, but we are changing this. And the recent Lisbon conference, also in the city, came up with a declaration in which already presidents of countries are speaking about the ocean as an urgency. So this is happening, but the inertia in the system, insufficient realization of the role of the ocean and the role of the science in managing the ocean is still hampering our progress.
So with that thought in mind, I mean, what do we do to move from the targets that we're all setting, the goals that we're all setting, which are quite substantial, really to changing our relations with the ocean and achieving some real sort of progress in making the ocean healthier? Is it a question of sort of organizing our work in the ocean better? Is it a question of thinking about having new kind of scientific endeavors? I mean, we have heard recently IPOS, the sort of IPCC-like proposition for science in the ocean. Are those useful, and what do we do to move?
There are many useful initiatives, and also I heard many useful words here. What I would like to say is that, the progress is slower than is needed, and the situation basically is such that we are now operating with the ocean economy, which is worth trillions of US dollars. Ocean science is an investment annually of the order of billions of US dollars, and coordination of the science is an investment of the order of millions of US dollars. So every time it's 3 orders of magnitude. So we generate a lot of money from the ocean, but we under-observe, understudy the ocean, and we also under-coordinate what we do. So in that sense, we need to really promote the ocean science. And also I have to say that the enabling environment in the ocean sciences and ocean management has not yet been created. There is a fantastic opportunity on the basis of data and science, on the basis of also additional ways of processing ocean data, create an enabling environment that will be also helping to develop ocean governance in countries. So countries will be able to much better coordinate what they do in the ocean, and that opportunity is still ahead of us. I hope that the decade will create some conditions for that, but also United Nations will also do something in relation to the planning processes that exist there.
So is there a room for another kind of ocean science effort like IPOS, or do you think that do we already have the wherewithal? We don't need to put that new institution in place?
So Charles, my impression is that there is still a room and also a necessity for organizing our thinking about the ocean. There are several ideas how we can do this on the basis of science. Science for the ocean is probably more important than science for other areas, because ocean is not transparent to radio waves, not transparent to light completely. So there are ways of managing the ocean, and this needs to be done in relation to the United Nations, that also awakening. Ocean is second priority in conventional climate. This needs to change, and there is a way, if we bring United Nations to work on the ocean in coherent manner, then also in the Conference on the Ocean 2025 in Nice in France, then I think big things will start to happen.
I mean, it came up in the last discussion that there needed to be much more specific focus of the purpose of data and the purpose of science around the ocean. And it strikes me in a way that sustainable ocean planning is not going to be successful without the requisite sort of evidence base. I mean, how, it seems to me that we're almost omitting the most important thing about our need, and the STOR report did show this as well, that we needed to move towards a greater level of sustainable ocean management. Somehow we're omitting the most important thing in that, and that is coherent, specific data sets that allow decision-making to happen.
So I truly believe that with some additional effort, it is possible to organize the science, create enabling environment sustainable ocean planning, to fulfill the commitment to start managing exclusive economic zones in 17 countries that committed to do so by 2025, and engage the whole world to start doing this in 2020. There is a possibility based on science.
Vladimir, I'm afraid we've run out of time, but thank you very much indeed, and it's very, very good to see you back again. Do please
Thanks very much, Joe.
Thank you.
Yes.